Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight, episode 9 of the 5 Star Revolution podcast. I am your host, CJ Price, and tonight we have another very special guest, Ace Montana. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Oh man, right, not be better. Just in here at the Montana Castle, we call it Power Team. Just relaxing, trying to unwind from this crazy. Was it Tuesday, right?
Yes, sir. So, you're based out of Virginia, correct?
Yeah, based out of Richmond, Virginia. Yes, sir. I born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. Uh, Fell in love, moved up here. That didn't work out, so I fell in love with her best friend and had kids with her, and that didn't work out. So, that the whole wrestling, every wrestler's thing with wives or whatever. But yeah, I'm here in Richmond, Virginia. I've been here about 20 years now, on and off.
All right, and where initially did you start training as a professional wrestler?
Well, it's very interesting. I lied when I was in Alabama. When I was 15 years old, I was 6 foot, 280 pounds. So I lied to a promoter down there and said I've had training. It was an independent show. Uh, this would have been early 2000s, or what was it, 15 or 16? I'm 33 now. I'm not good with math, so it's been some years. But I lied to a promoter to get wrestled on this carnival show. It was funny. It was like there was a honky tonk man and a couple of other people that were like top guys that were with the big organizations and then did the indies. But that was my first break in the business about lying, and because I had a pair of cowboy boots and some trunks, and that's what I wrestled in. It looked ridiculous, but it wasn't too bad. It was a lot of fun, but I mean that was my break into wrestling, which I never had any training, but I always wrestled with my brothers. We always wrestled with the neighborhood kids, all that stuff. And what I did was, when I moved to Virginia here, when I got here up here, my mother, when she moved up here, there was a local wrestling group called Richmond Lucha Libre. It was kind of like a rated R wrestling show. Um, a lot of people probably don't remember like Lucha Vavoom and stuff like that from way back in the early 2000s. Like when MySpace was like the fucking shit. You know what I'm saying? Like so. We did like bar shows and stuff, and it's actually funny because one of the writers, I'm not going to drop his name because I don't want to get him in trouble or anything crazy like the internet is, especially with the bullshit that I got attached with my name. He actually writes for the WWE now. He helped train me, and his at the time his good friend, I don't know if they're still friends, named El Sucio, trained me, and I've been a friend of Seuss's for years. You laugh, you know El Sucio?
No, I just know what that means in Spanish.
Yeah. So what does it mean in Spanish?
It means the dirty one.
That's awesome. So El Sucio, his name was Chris, who he went what his real name was, but we wrestled in an organization called Richmond Lucha Libre in Richmond, Virginia, and we were hot, dude. We were pretty hot. We were what was that? I can't remember. Jakara, do you know Jakara?
Yes, sir.
We were before. Get off the phone, stupid dog. I love. That's my dog. He just got back from daycare. Jakara, we were before that. We actually, a lot of their guys actually came down when we started. We were like, I think a year and a half, maybe 2 years ahead of them with the whole mixing luchadors with story characters and just off the wall shit, little vignette movies before the show started. If you get a chance to check some of that stuff out, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. Not a lot of stuff on YouTube, but there is some really cool stuff. It was much more like rated R wrestling with strippers and bars, and Guar even was in one of our battle royals. The band Guar with Dave Brocky and I think another guy from their band was in there, and it was a lot of fun. But we all trained every like Saturday or Thursday, Saturday nights in a wrestling ring in a backyard, man. And that's pretty much where it took off from there. And then, like, now here it is, like 16 years later. It's just, it continues to get cool. Like, it's cool. It's such a love-hate relationship with professional wrestling because, like, what I hate, well, we'll get to that anyways. But one thing that's crazy is, so many of my friends, I got, one guy wrestled for NXT for a tryout. The other guy is working for the WWE in the writing department. One of my good friends from wrestling on the Indies is a referee for the WWE. So it's, and I don't know how this all works. So I'm not going to drop their names. I don't want to get them in trouble. I don't want to do anything crazy like that. But, it's really cool to see, friends of mine who, have been able to, really love the business, really get to where they want to be in the business. So that's pretty cool.
That sounds really interesting, man. And I'm glad some of your friends went to the top tier company, which is WWE right now. And hopefully your dreams, and hopefully you'll get signed someday as well.
Well, I'm not really too concerned of getting. I'm not too concerned with getting signed with the WWE or AEW or anybody, because I'm an indie guy and I love the indies. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here with a Dusty Rhodes T-shirt on and tell you that if Vince McMahon called me and was like, "Hey, we'd love to bring you in," that I wouldn't give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? Because when I sit backstage, and it's crazy because I'm 30, I'll be 34 in September, right? I remember being like the 20-year-old and looking at the 34-year-olds or the 50-year-olds being like, man, I hope I'm not doing this shit at their fucking age. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy because time flies like this, and, we'll get more into, everything in my life and everything, but I love the independent level. I love the small towns. I love the the semi 150, 100 crowds if we're lucky. Wrestling. I love that shit. It's like the raw. It's the shitty wrestling. It's the guys that look good, or the guys that know what they're doing, or the guys and gals, or transgender wrestlers. I know you got to throw that out there now. I'm very old school. Like, I slept in the back of my pickup truck. I had a 1995 GMC Sierra, right? And I put a camper shell on top of it, a futon mattress, fan. And what I would do is, and I'm like one of the last guys that ever did this, because I try to talk to other people about it. And they're like, man, you really did all that? It's like, yeah, man. I would literally, this is what I would do to live on the road as a professional wrestler. When I moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I lived in Pittsburgh, Latrobe, and Wexford. I got a job working at Sony boxing up TVs. What's it called? It doesn't matter. Either way, boxing up TVs. Bullshit job, hated it. And I was dating this girl that had a rich dad who was a psychiatrist doctor. And he basically gave me his Citco credit card, gas card. And it's like, just go on the road and follow your wrestling degree, but leave my daughter alone so she can get a good degree. I was like, hell yeah, man. So I did that. And, dude, I traveled in that pickup truck. I would go from Pittsburgh to Florida to Texas, back over to Alabama, Georgia, and I would sleep in the back of this truck and travel. And then what I would do is I would try to book Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but usually it would only be Fridays and Saturdays I could get. So I would drive to the town and either scrap metal, like do scrap metal for cash through the week while I'm in that place, and then or I would go to if the city or town would have like a labor ready place, I would go and work, do construction and stuff to get a day's wage and still make money and live on the road, but also get paid to wrestle on the shows that I was booked on at the time.
So for those fans that don't know too much about the professional wrestling life, the lifestyle, being on the road and stuff like that, what would you say is the hardest part of being a professional wrestler?
I think we're all kids when we want to do this, and we grow up just wanting this stuff so bad. I don't feel like, to the person who doesn't know nothing about wrestling, it's very odd to them, right? If you could put yourself in wrestler shoes today, it's not too odd. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely shifted, with pay wise, with intergender tag teams, with, it's really, it's really crazy when I try to explain my past. And like I said, I mean, me winding down enough, doing 1 or 2 shows, 3 shows, it's just people look at you like, why would you do that? That's stupid. But they don't understand the passion and love that some of us have for the business. You know what I'm saying? So extreme things like me living in a pickup truck and sleeping in the back of it and plugging an extension cord into the back of Hardee's, or when social media really took off, it was really great for me, because then I was able to meet fans and sleep and stay with fans when we had MySpace. So like I would go into a town, and like a girl that I talked to, or a guy, or anybody that loved wrestling that was a fan of mine, when they saw me, they said, "Hey, when I come back in town, we should let me crash with you." Hell yeah, you think as a wrestling fan, a wrestler reaching out like, "Hey, let me crash with you, hang out." I mean, they would cook me dinners. They would want me to watch wrestling, or, think of, stuff they would do. And, and that was super cool, learning that, and, doing that hustle in the business as well. But I've never made crazy money in wrestling. I just wanted to follow my dream and be the American dream, Dusty Rhodes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to be the man. And that's, for me, with fans or non-fans trying to explain them traveling and stuff like that, the old way when I started, it ain't nothing like today. You know what I'm saying? The social media, you can put a tweet out, "Hey, I'm going to be in this town. I'm a wrestler. Anybody want me to crash on the couch?" People are like, "Yeah, come on over," or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely much more. And here's the crazy thing, and we'll get to that too, is it's just much more world connected now than what it was in 2003, 2002, 2001. Like I said, social media didn't hit the world until like what, 2006? So like, now, I mean, look at me and you, we're doing an interview. We're hundreds of miles apart, and we're able to give this to fans, your fans, and the podcast, and whoever. And like I said, it's just super crazy on what us guys back in the day would do just for an ounce of any kind of like clip in a news section, or even be mentioned on a radio ad. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I remember the first time I ever heard come to county fair, whatever, in North Carolina, Big Ace Montana live, and I was like, holy shit, I fucking made it. You know what I'm saying? And looking back on that stuff, and I'm just like, but I don't want to take away the feeling that it gave me. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
To hear that broadcasting, driving through North Carolina, and hear your name over the radio, man, that shit was big stuff then. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So what's that feeling like backstage before a match? What's that feeling like? What's going through your head?
Now, I'm just glad to be there and get to see younger guys, get to like do their dream, and I just take it in. And like, I'm a young guy, right? I've been in the business a long time, but I got started, like luchadors. Them kids start wrestling at 6 years old to do halftime matches. I don't know if they call them halftime matches, but they do parking lot matches. Or a lot of people don't know about. I'm a big fan of luchador wrestling, so I know about street performing with the street matches and doing the the luchador style and stuff like that. Those kids started at 6 years old or earlier. If they can do a Hurricane Rana, they're going to, what I'm saying? They, like, by the time that kid is in his 30s, he's got so much experience in the wrestling, in the industry of, lucha, lucha and Mexican wrestling. And, it's just like with me, around the Mid-Atlantic area, I'm either a son of a bitch, a great guy, or charisma that oozes so much he's worth booking. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Backstage for me, man, it's just I'll tell you the most recent one. A couple weeks ago, I got to go and honor a good friend of mine who passed away of diabetes. He was 33 years old.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, right. His name was Pork Chop Johnson, and he was like JYD through and through. You know what I'm saying? Like he was just that old school black guy wrestler that just. And the best thing is he was my friend. We were roommates for a while too. After I got divorced and split up with my wife, but we were actually able. He was just that old school. African American wrestler, and he, like I said, being my best friend, I'll never forget. I just, being able to like see him, and like I would portray Dusty with the old school tie to my initial and cowboy boots, and I would do my best to, cross between the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, and Dusty Rhodes, and bring them together, and boisterous and loud and obnoxious. But being backstage now at that show, I was so quiet. And that's not, and a lot of people that know me know that's not who I am. But after getting older, having kids, getting prescribed Adderall from my doctor because I'm an adult with ADHD and just figured it out, and I'm able to, and I just sat there, and it was crazy because it was hot. It was so hot in this gymnasium somewhere in upper northern Virginia. It was. I just watched everybody. I watched the guys go over their matches. Which some people are for and some people ain't. And I just watched. I watched the sound guys, the ref. I watched people get upset with each other because they took too long in the entranceway and whatever. And I just watched it. And I was just so lucky to be able to be there to honor my best friend, take his boots out to the ring. You can go and find it on YouTube if any of the fans if your fans want to check it out. And it was just awesome to do that. You know what I'm saying? It was awesome to be able to be backstage still at 33, even though I've got over a decade of experience in the independent wrestling. And I hate. I understand why we have to call it independent wrestling, but people don't understand that's the way it was back then. There was territory. Independent wrestling is the territory still. It's just there's not enough money. There's no promoters out there that are like, there's some, but not all the promoters are about business. They're wrestling fans that want to waste their money on wrestling shows. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it's not new, but it's the fucking truth. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. I totally agree. So you talked about a little bit about being a face and being a heel, and you've done both. Which one do you enjoy the most?
Well, man, and I've lost a lot of weight ever since I've been prescribed what my doctor put me on with it, and I've lost a lot of weight. I'm finally under 300 pounds for the first time in like 16 years. I've been around 320, 375, but I'm 6'1". I'm not a small guy. You know what I'm saying? It's really funny because 90% of the time when I'm in the locker room, I'm the giant of the locker room. There's a couple of guys that are on the Indies that are big dudes, but not a lot of guys are standing above 6 foot, and they're damn sure not tipping the scale to closer to 400 or 350. So as a baby face and portraying the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and I'd love for your fans to go by and check some of my stuff out on YouTube. I connect with fans because I'm the best baby face in the Mid-Atlantic, hands down. I put my stuff up against the American Dream in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? But I can't say that I'm better than Dusty because I tried to be Dusty. You know what I'm saying? Just like so many other people. And I remember I got a promo. I think it's on my Facebook. It's got to be so. Either way, that I'm cutting with Jimmy Valiant, right? And Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie Man, is an older guy. He's got a school here in Virginia, about 3 hours away in the mountains. And we cut this promo, and I'm in an American flag shirt. And I'm digging it, and I'm giving it to him. Yeah, And when we cut that promo, I'll never forget. It was one of the coolest things a vet has ever said to me. He goes, Ace, where the fuck have you been? And I said, what do you mean, brother? He goes, I haven't had no one cut a promo like that with me since Dusty Rhodes, since JYD, since I was a young man. That was so electric. And he talks real, yeah, baby, yeah, I love you, boogie woogie, and he talks like, because he's very old now, but he's still there. He's still Jimmy Valiant. And I'm sitting here, and it's giving me like goosebumps, thinking about it. And it was just like, I'm going to say something on camera on your podcast I've never said before. I have not given it my all to get out there and try to push it.
Wow.
I was so happy with stuff that I was doing that I've been okay with not pushing myself to be a WWE superstar. Not that I don't want to be a WWE star. It's just I'm so mind trapped with the 70s and early 80s. You know what I'm saying? I'm friends with Robert Gibson. You know what I'm saying? From the Rock and Roll Express. And, he books me on some of his shows down in Douglasville, Georgia. And I get to go to breakfast with these guys and have dinner. And they're friends. It ain't like a fan thing. And, Ricky and Robert Gibson from the Rock and Roll Express, you didn't get any bigger than that when it came to tech. Dude, you go watch those videos of those guys doing what they did. Are you kidding? Tore their clothes, and they were rock and roll stars. And I'm sitting here, eating lunch before a show with him, kicked up. He looks over and goes, "Hey kid, will help me write the card?" Absolutely not. I don't want nothing to do with that. But as a guy, as a wrestler, it's super cool to be friends with these guys. Or I never marked out for guys. Remember? They try to tell these young guys in the back, don't be a mark. Don't bother them. Don't be a mark. Man, if you are in the backstage, let me tell you, and people give me so much shit for this years ago. I had a promoter out of West Virginia. It was Kobe Pro Wrestling. And this guy believed in me. I mean, believed in me like the old school promoters. Like when he made me champion, he knew that I thought I was the world's heavyweight champion with his belt. And this guy let me go over on Shane Douglas in a heavy title match. He let me go over on Kevin Nash. You know what I'm saying? Win the belt from Nash, pin him to his shoulders. Now that's when I did a heel spot, but I beat Kevin Nash. Who else? I mean, it's just the guys that were on top that didn't mind doing the jobs. Man, it's like being a heel, being a babyface. I'll ground us back down to, because I can talk for hours. I love being a babyface because I'm the best, period. There ain't nobody out there that's a better babyface than me. Better babyface than me than the New. And who doesn't love the New Day, right? I don't know what they do now. I don't know if they're still together. But when I saw Xavier Woods, right? When he said you're about to get lost in the woods, I was like, no, I can't top that. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes with true old, let me rephrase that. Old school professional wrestling babyface, ain't nobody better than me. The only man that has ever been better than me as a baby face is on my T-shirt, and he ain't here no more. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So but as a heel, I didn't mind doing a heel because, like I said, when I was doing wrestling for promotions and it would get stale, Jesus Christ, the hometown hero, I always got announced from every truck stop in America, right? It was never from St. Louis, Missouri, or Boston. It was always weighing in at some time Rocky Roll or Sweet Home Alabama, big bandanas, big cowboy boots, old school look. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing that got me hotter than that, being a babyface. But heels were exceptional because when I did a heel thing, I did it so I could still help that person's territory on their independent shows to still bring flavor to the show, to get people interested, of what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, before the Twitters, before the Facebook Lives, before any of that stuff, I mean, wrestling was still people still a lot of these old country little towns, wrestling was still fucking real. You know what I'm saying? And I remember I was in West Virginia. I was in Paw Paw, West Virginia, right? If you blink, you'll miss it. And I think they got a graduating class every year of like 5 people, right?
Wow.
So and I remember going to Allegiant Bar or whatever it was. I go in there, his wife, and I was drunk by this point. I done like 7, 8 shots of like whiskey, like Jack Daniels is what I do. And this is my early 20s, and I don't recommend this. I'm not saying what I did was right, but I pounded back like 6 or 7, maybe 8 shots, done a couple of beers. I got my, tank top on, my cowboy boots, my blue jeans, and my trucker hat, and I'm hanging out with some of the wrestlers and some of the fans that wanted to come by. And this lady, I guess she had way too many, and she comes over there, whatever, she slaps the piss fire out of me and throws her drink on me. I backhand this woman, she hit the floor. Her husband comes running. It was like a fucking bar scene. I fucking hip toss him on, put him in a sleeper hold, and I'm choking this guy out and just beating his head in. And then a couple of them separate everybody, and it was like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get to hear about stuff like that no more, especially on today's wrestlers. And I'm not sitting here to sound like I'm some old, legendary, whatever. So much has changed with social media. If there was cameras and videos of me doing shit like that back then, I would have probably either been arrested or not ever been able to wrestle on the show today. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because so many people are offended or upset or, that offended me. Why did you do that type of stuff? You know what I'm saying?
Right. So 2 more questions for you before I let you go, sir.
Okay.
The first one is, you talked about wrestling Kevin Nash, Shane Douglas. What's your greatest accomplishment in your career and why?
Greatest accomplishment in my career. Man, the greatest accomplishment that I can say in my wrestling career, because remember this, you don't achieve nothing in wrestling. They give it to you. Everyone, from the top to the bottom. You know what I'm saying? It's never, you never achieve anything. You can be good. You can walk the line. You can put in the work. You can show up looking like a champ. And if that's good enough and that promoter or that organization wants to make you the man, then they do that. There's plenty of videos of everyone that thought they were going to be the man and never did. There's cats in the 90s that looked 10 times better than John Cena ever looked, but they never made it because they didn't have it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you don't achieve anything in wrestling. If you go in thinking that you're going to go in here and achieve this stuff, it doesn't happen that way. What I'm proud of, an accomplishment that I'm proud of, is that I always stuck to my guns. If I said fuck you, I meant it. If I won something, I enjoyed it. And I tried to be a real guy in the back instead of a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
that's the greatest achievement in the world of professional wrestling, all the way until I almost shot Teddy Hart in Richmond, Virginia. You know what I'm saying? That was a fucking mess. I like I said, I had the guy Hannibal reach out to me. I had other podcasters, and then I remember my buddy hit me up. He said, "Man, this is your chance," and I didn't want nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This guy with a late night radio show, he called me. Him and his buddy created T-shirts with me with a gun with a juice box, because I guess in the thing I told him to get his fucking juice box up the road or something, and I gave all that proceeds, whatever sold, I gave to the lady that Teddy Hart dated, that they still can't even find her body.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then I had Bruce Hart reach out to me. I had, I won't drop his name because I know he's still trying to make it, but one of the other family members reach out to me on the Hart side, the Hart family, So everything that happens with wrestling, it's just, if I have any advice for the fans that want to get into professional wrestling, the number one thing I'm going to tell you is it's not what you watch on TV, and it's not the stories of what the old guys say. And then people, like, if they really hear that message, they go, okay, well, let me do research. Kevin Nash tells stories about, being in a locker room with kids today, because he's an old guy. He can say that everybody's on their phone or playing video games, where if you were in the locker room with him in the early 80s, 90s, and someone shaked a pill bottle, everybody went, you know what I'm saying? It's totally different. It's not, it's an illusion of what it is. WWE does not put up with any shenanigans. If you've done an OnlyFans, or if you've did shit on camera, that they're not going to use you. You know what I'm saying? It's not real what wrestling is portrayed to. I have wrestled in front of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Legends at the Legends Convention, the NWA down in Charlotte. I got to wrestle on those shows and be around all these legends for 4 days. These are old men, you know what I'm saying? Flair, Harley Race, Jerry Jarrett, man, there was a guy that used to live here, and no one in this, maybe if they're historians, Dick Steinborn used to live in Carytown in Richmond, Virginia. And only people that even know who Dick Steinborn is, the WWE did a 5-second clip of him when they put Gorgeous George in the Hall of Fame, because he was one of the last survivors from before wrestling was this giant conglomerate. He was the old school, headlocks for 15 minutes, and they won with a toe hold. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So with podcasts everywhere, and, the AEW and all this stuff, all I want to say to somebody that wants to get into professional wrestling is follow your heart of what you want. If you don't, I'm not going to sit here. When James Ellsworth, when Jimmy got his spot, he was on a show with us in West Virginia, and I know James Ellsworth really, really well. I've known him for years. When he was with Pretty Ugly Tag Team with Adam Rotten, I think he went by. Either way, when I saw him on Raw and when he got over, I said, anything is possible in wrestling. Now, he was a fucking idiot for blowing that, doing Snapchat shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's the thing about wrestling now, is if you say something offensive to anyone, color, race, gender, in wrestling, now this is a fucking theater show. This is a live theater. This is as raw as theater can get on the indies. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what blows my mind is if it's in a Broadway show and they say a horrible line, or call a race a horrible line, or make fun of a transgender person or binary, or whatever the fuck you want to go by. Wrestling is a carnival, and it's always been that way until right up about 5 years. I really don't know, because I haven't watched the product in forever. I see a clip on my TikTok when I scroll, or seeing stuff. But I mean, it's just wrestling. Pro wrestling today is nothing that I fell in love with. It is nothing that I want to do on the mainstream media. When I go to these indie shows, it's like being in 1978 again, and being able to be the heavyweight champion and sign autographs and take pictures with little kids and hit on their moms and try to get their numbers. But I'm married now, so obviously I can't do that. But, do all this cool stuff, but you can't do that there. You can't do that. If you go, you can, as you go to the big wrestling things, one complaint of a sexual harassment, or if the wrong person hear you say motherfucker in the ears of someone that they don't want you to say that around. It's wrestling is not professional wrestling anymore. Yes, I grew up watching wrestling in WCW and watching the NWA and all that stuff. And that's what I love. That's my cup of tea, and I'm going to sip on it till the day I'm dead. And I'm not saying that wrestling today is horrible. I'm just saying to people that if you are a younger person, you're not going to know the struggles of us other indie guys from the early 2000s, or the guys in the 90s, or whatever, or the guys that get this close and they just quit using them, and they just do horrible things to themselves or their significant others. I mean, we're all fucking crazy in our own sexual way. You know what I'm saying? Because wrestling is like, just, like you'll talk to anybody, it's like one big orgasm of stuff that it can throw at you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what wrestling, like, if a fan wants to get into it, follow your dreams, be true to yourself, and if you make it, great. But I remember, and I won't say her name, but she was the chick that was involved with that Teddy Hart bullshit that went down. I told her when she broke in the business at 18 years old, when I was training her at the school here in Virginia, I said, you do not want to look back on your career and you want to see smiling faces and people looking up at you on the top of the mountain, waving at you and happy for you. You don't want to look back on your career and see a bunch of heads on stakes and destruction all the way to get to the top. Because let me tell you something, when you get to the top of something, what do you got to do once you get there?
Right.
You check the view out. It must be fun for whatever long, but then you got to come on, make your way back down. And if you got to pass cut off heads and destruction, that's a worse way to do it. But if you get to come on down and get to shake hands and people love you and you stay true to yourself and you don't sell out and you don't treat people horrible, it's worth doing. But like I said, I'm so detached from the product today that I couldn't give you an honest answer. I don't know who the champion is. I don't know who the women's champion is. And see, I wanted to say ladies champion, but I don't know if that's right to say anymore. But I mean, I see clips of like Charlotte Flair, and some of these women wrestlers now are phenomenal. I mean, they're just tough as nails, especially the Japanese women wrestlers. They kill each other. I'll tell you right now, if one of them dudes would have curb stomped me like they do the Japanese women do together, I would go to my bag, pull out my gun, and shoot that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not. Those girls kick each other's asses going. But yeah, I mean, that's wrestling, man. Wrestling's it's definitely it's a wonderful, fucking crazy show that we all enjoy some sick way.
One last question for you, Mr. Montana, and then I'll let you go. What is the most important lesson that you learned in professional wrestling, and how do you carry it on in your personal life?
Know how to bump and tuck your chin. That I'm gonna leave you with that, buddy. Tuck your chin and know how to fall. Take it on the upper back. You know what I'm saying? Because wrestling will change you. And the crazy thing is the first time I got booked when I was really wrestling like full steam, booked every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday as Dusty. They're like, you can't get Dusty, book Ace Montana because he'll be able to do what Dusty used to do, and he ain't going to cost nowhere near what Dusty was charging in the early 2000s. And I'll never forget that I was sitting down, and you can go watch videos. I've gigged, and I have bled like a stuffed pig. You know what I'm saying? I remember after really full steam doing it, wrestling in North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, back to Florida, North Carolina, all these places, Georgia. And I mean, it was like boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? I remember one day I sat there. I can't remember where I was at. It was probably some hot gym or armory. And I said, man, I can never look at wrestling the same again as when I was a fan and as a kid. Because I have already seen what's behind the curtain. And it truly broke my heart. Like, I broke down. I can remember to this day, covered in blood, had finger tape on, and I'm sitting there, people are getting ready and shaking hands, leaving, and I'm trying my best to choke back these tears. That it's like, in a metaphor, I put a bullet in the little kid's head that used to sit in front of the TV and watch Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and Harley Race and, the Attitude Era, The Rock, Stone Cold, Nation of Domination, Undertaker, Mankind, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, all this all this awesomeness that I got to be a part of, which is the golden era, the attitude era, the PG era. That's what people talk about. That, watching an NWO fight, when Hogan turned, and that's 25 years ago, you know what I'm saying? And remember watching that, or Sting come down from the rafters, and one guy come down from the rafters and knock out 45 men in the NWO. I cried for like a good hour, and even I couldn't get a hold of myself because, metaphorically speaking, because I got into wrestling and I wanted to do this, it was so sad to know that it's like I put a gun to the back of my little kid, the inner kid in me, and blew his head off, because I can't look at wrestling the same anymore. Even if I'm not on the show, or if it comes on TV, or if I see it on TikTok, I'm like, that bump was bad, and I don't get to enjoy it for the love of it. Now
Right.
the magic's gone, and that, I think, somewhat is sad to a lot of us indie guys, because the little kid inside of me would think I'm the coolest guy in the whole world. You know what I'm saying? That 11-year-old, that 10-year-old, even that 8-year-old. But if I could go back and do it again, I would do it, because of all the great people I've met and all the drugs I've got to do and women I've got to sleep with and free beers I've gotten and meeting amazing people. I would have met my best friend, who I lost 9 months ago, I think now. And, but it gives you a little bit of a bitter taste, because, man, there's nothing better than when I can remember WCW Monday Night Nitro and the Nitro Girls, and Louis Spicolli. I no one's even mentioned that name probably in years. You know what I'm saying? And watching Louis Spicolli take on whatever luchador they brought in, Juventud Guerrero, or any of those guys, and it's just going to Richmond and watching ECW live at 13, like in the Rams Coliseum, watching Sandman come out and power drive, or kendo stick all these people, watching New Jack gave me his shirt. I'll tell you this little quick story. I went over there. He was at the entranceway talking, and I walked up and said, "Mr. New Jack, hey, I'm a real big fan. What was your greatest match?" And he pointed to this rat. And I don't want to say rat, but that's what we called him. That's what he called him. He pointed to this woman and said, "In the bed with her last night." Right? And that's cool. That was New Jack. And as a kid, I think he knew he crushed my heart a little bit, right? Because it wasn't 15 minutes before showtime. He knew where I was sitting, because I wasn't that far. It was like I was in the cheap seats, but I was like at the very end of it. And he pointed me out and told me to come, and he gave me his shirt, the one he was going to wear tonight, that night of the show, here at the VCU Rams Stadium, the basketball stadium. And those guys were in the prime, dude. They were like hotter than anything. And as a kid, remembering that, and I saw Mark Henry when they were doing that Andre the Giant thing, that A&E thing about finding relics, and how Mark Henry broke down for Andre stuff, being picked up by Andre and set back in the crowd. I used to hate Mark Henry. But as a kid, you know what I'm saying? And now it's like, man, it's grab it by the fucking horns, because it goes like that. I mean, it does. Every wrestler will tell you it. Every lady wrestler will tell you it. Everybody in the industry will tell you. It wasn't a blink ago that I was 19, on fire, doing indie shows, getting a girl pregnant at 20, having my first kid at 21, still trying to follow my dreams, having a second kid at 22. It was just, at 34 years old this September, I'm trying to find out how to hit the brakes on this motherfucking train, because it won't quit. My daughters are growing up. My life is awesome. I mean, and that's the crazy thing, is I live a life better than my heroes did, or do. You know what I'm saying? I'm in a beautiful home. I got brand new. I got a 2021, F-250 dually. I got a brand new Harley Davidson. I got a wife that loves me. I got a fucking cute dog that thinks I'm the world. My kids think I'm awesome. And that's sad to me, that I live a life better than 90% of the guys that I grew up watching. because a lot of them are fucking dead. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and at a very young age too, which is sad.
Yeah.
But where can?
Didn't Paul Orndorff? Didn't he just die?
Yeah, he just died like 2 days ago. Yes.
And the only reason why I even knew that is I saw something someone posted about the whole Heenan family's dead. Now wrap your mind around that. Andre, King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, Heenan, Mr. Perfect, Paul Orndorff. They're all gone. Like there's no more. There's gonna be no them telling stories anymore. Like it's just crazy, and I don't want to say anything bad about wrestling because I want it to continue and I want it to be great. But wrestling is 100% changed into an evolve, and Terry Funk says it. It all comes back in circles. So, I wish the best for everyone. I hope everyone enjoys your podcast. You know
Thank
what I'm
you,
saying?
sir.
I like that's a rock shirt, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so yeah, and that's an old one too, right? That's like
2010.
Huh?
2010, 2011.
Yeah. I think when I was at WrestleMania 20, I think they had that one sell in the stadium, so in New York. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, man, that's pretty much. I appreciate you letting me be on your podcast. It's been a true honor.
Where can fans find you though? Where can fans connect with you?
You can look up Ace Montana on Facebook. You can check out some YouTube stuff, but I'm too old school to be. Not that I'm not on. I got an Ace Montana Facebook. I got there's a Twitter that I don't ever get into, and what is it? There's an Instagram that has some old stuff. But yeah, I mean, just look up Ace Montana. It's crazy. Years later, there was a rap star that came up as Ace Montana. But when you search his name, I pop up and he pops up. So you got to type in Ace Montana Pro Wrestler on YouTube if you want to watch any of the stuff I did, years ago or whatever. But yeah, man, I mean, other than that, dude, I'm just living life, enjoying it. It's cool. I got to be a part of it and do things. But other than that, that's not really much. Finding me isn't hard. And if you want to find me, fucking call me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Stuff out there that you can get in reach with me. Hit me a message if any of your fans want to ask me any questions or want to know how to get started in professional wrestling. I got some friends down south that got great schools. I know George South has a really good. Actually, I'll put his book over. Dad, you do not work, you wrestle. So George South actually he's involved with a really good wrestling school. I know High Spot, I think they still have a wrestling school. I know Jimmy Valiant has one in Virginia. So if you got any of your fans ever reach out to you that want to start training to become a professional wrestler, tell them, hit me up. I can point them in the right direction.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Ace Montana, for your time. We appreciate it. And we just have one announcement to make. If we reach 400 likes by August 15th, we're going to give away a $50 gift card to anywhere of your choice. So subscribe to the YouTube channel and like our Facebook page, 5-Star Revolution Podcast. Thank you, Mr. Ace Montana.
Thanks, brother. Be good. And like I said, thank you for having me. Subscribe to the guy's channel. Seems like a great dude. And hit that bell for notifications, right? Is that what
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Look, thank you so much. Have a great night. I'm going to have dinner and hang out with my dog. If you want to look at him, he's over there just chilling, waiting for me to get off the damn phone. So,
all right, man. Take care. Have a great day.
Hey, viva la raza.
Yes, sir.